Look at the snow. It's not snowing right now, but it was yesterday, last night. And yeah, it's kind of nice. Anyway, oh yeah, and also we haven't taken our Christmas tree down yet. But we did take the ornaments off. Okay, I am wanting to start my next Jackie, it's the Bloody Jack Adventures, but whatever. I guess I should just like give up calling it that, just call it the Bloody Jack, or the Jackie Faber Adventures, or whatever, because that's what my brain wants to do. Okay. I have the next 2 books. So, it's Saturday, January 18th, and I am gonna start reading Mississippi Jack. But I want to tell you just, you know, okay, so I got both books this week. They came in together, and I wasn't expecting them to come quite so quickly from the library. But I thought, you know what? I'll start Mississippi Jack this weekend. I might as well. It's been a minute, but I finally decided to get back on doing this. This book is like 600 pages for some reason. I don't know. So, okay, Mississippi Jack is book 5. I don't like this cover because I prefer the ones where it's like a painting of her, but whatever. This one, little bit of a recap. In the previous book, in the belly of the Bloodhound, it ends with her being nabbed by the captain of the ship that's rescued them and brought them back to Boston, because, oh ho, it turns out, yes, he did recognize her from the wanted posters. And the Admiralty has a price on her head, and he intends to collect it. This book begins with her immediately escaping him, and then she spends the entire book, like, going down the Mississippi, basically, in an attempt to, like, stay away from the forces that pursue. I don't actually remember if anyone's chasing her. I mean, I think Jamie is for some reason, but, like, I don't know if anyone bad is chasing her, but anyway, it's fun times in the American West, except it's not the West, but it was the West then, you know? So it's like the closest Jackie Faber will get to being anywhere near where I live, because she does take the Ohio River to get to the Mississippi, so like, she puts her right on the little bottom bit of Illinois, a place which wasn't a state yet, certainly. Okay, that doesn't matter. So what I remember from this book, pretty sparing, but she definitely ends up in New Orleans. Excuse me. She ends up in New Orleans, and she definitely gets tarred and feathered at one point, because, like, of course she does. Then we have, oh Jesus, we have book 6, My Bonny Light Horseman, which is like 400 something pages. Like, this is a much shorter book than really the other ones, so I kind of found that surprising. That there's such variation. I don't think it's just edition, because like both of them have similar font sizes, like the pages look kind of the same. I think this book just has a lot less content, which is surprising, because this one, I mean, okay, this is a spoiler, but who cares? This entire video is spoilers. From what I remember, she does get captured by the British at the end of Mississippi Jack, like for real this time, I think. I don't know how that happens, but it does. And then in this one, the Admiralty is like, look, either we execute you or you work for us. Like, do things being a spy for us, spy things. And they send her to France. I can't really remember anything else about it, but like she ends up among the soldiers, and I don't remember why she's there. I think I can't remember if she's with the French soldiers. I think she might be. And I don't remember what the explanation is. Like, yes, she can speak French, but she's obviously not native to France, because she's not probably anywhere near as fluent as like a French person would be, and she doesn't have the right accent and blah, blah, blah. So she must have some explanation. I mean, they probably hired mercenaries, so that might be it, but I don't remember. She meets Napoleon briefly in this. That is what I do recall. And I'm like, really? This book is like 200 pages shorter? Okay. And I don't remember anything else about this. Both of these books I obviously have read before. and I believe I've read them more than once. So we're still in that zone. However, I think after this, we get into the zone of books I only read once, and therefore remember much less well. And these I clearly don't remember super well anyway, but okay. I've got my, like, breakfast, such as it is, ta-da, and I've got the dulcet sounds of my neighbor plowing snow outside, and I'm gonna, like, just hang out and start reading Mississippi Jack. So, first of all, it is still Saturday, just later in the day, some hours have passed, and I had a Christmas gift card to spend, so I went and bought these 2 books. Yay! Oh boy, this is not a good idea, I should not do that. Anyway, I stuck them here, next to this other Sherlock Holmes thing I have, because I love Sherlock Holmes. Okay, other thing that we're gonna talk about. Okay, that's fine. I have been reading Mississippi Jack. I have read like 100 pages, which, considering how freaking long this book is, doesn't look very impressive, but it's 100 pages. I finished part 1 and got a little bit into part 2. Okay, so I was a little bit off remembering how this book began, because Jackie does not immediately escape her captors. It takes a little bit longer, but not that much longer, like a chapter. Like, she escapes the next day. But Higgins and the other guys at the, like, Boston theater that she's worked with come up with an idea to rescue her, or, like, Higgins pretends to be some British intelligence person, and then they're like, oh, we're taking her for questioning first, but here's, you know, the reward money and whatever. So she is now traveling across country into the western United States, and by western I mean, like, she's in Pennsylvania. But, you know, it's 1806, so they define west differently. And Higgins is with her. And also Jim Tanner, who was a kid she hired in a previous book to, like, catch crabs or whatever for her shipping company that barely exists, but it does exist. And also Katie Deer, who was one of the girls from the previous book, wants to head back out west to kill her uncle and take over her farm. Although we've gotten to that part, and her uncle, it turned out, was already dead. And so she decided, you know what, there really isn't anything for me here now, so I'm just gonna keep going with these other people. And they've just reached the Allegheny, and are going to travel down it on a boat with Mike, I think his name is Mike Fink. Yeah, who is just like this ridiculous, over-the-top character. But he hasn't done that much yet. We don't really know how he spends his time. I definitely don't remember. But they've bought passage on his ship to get to Pittsburgh, but Jackie has something up her sleeves regarding getting the ship for herself or something. Okay, so I was personally blessed by L.A. Meyer because Higgins is in more of this book than I thought he was going to be, so I'm really excited about that, because I totally forgot that Jackie brings people with her on this journey. Like, I don't know why I was like, oh, of course she's not by herself, but I wasn't thinking who it would be. The other part of the story is about Jamie, who is following, and what he did right at the beginning was he got his way onto the ship, and he tried to demand that Jackie be set free and stuff, and the captain was just like, oh, you're part of the Royal Navy? Well, guess what? You're going to work on my ship now. Now you can't do anything. And Jamie's like, So after Jackie escapes with Higgins, and of course Jamie recognizes him, but doesn't say anything, Jamie is able to escape the ship by just jumping into the harbor, like when they're setting off later. And that means he's like, all right, now, you know, the Royal Navy will hate me and has kicked me out, but I'm going to travel west and try and catch up to Jackie. And he's supposed to be about 2 days behind, but then of course immediately is like waylaid by some people that he trusts and shouldn't have, and they steal all of his stuff. And then they just like leave him for dead. And then this girl, Clementine Jukes, shows up and basically decides that he's gonna be her ticket out of her really shitty situation where her father's abusive and drunk and stuff, and so she's all like, this boy is gonna get me out of the situation, and then we're gonna get married or something, and Jamie's like, what? Okay. And yeah, so that's where I am, and I'm enjoying it, and my battery is flashing at me. So I'm gonna shut up for now, but see you later. Hello. This is not a good way to do this. Alright, I want to update on my Jackie Faber book while also simultaneously making myself some tea because I'm thirsty. Okay, okay, so yeah, it's the 1st of February, it's Saturday, and it's been like probably over a week since I have said anything about this book in a video. But as you can see, I'm almost done with it. I've got about 100 pages left. So tons of things have happened. I really like this book. Like, I guess that's not really a shocking revelation, but I do. And, my favorite thing about it is that she acquires just this whole cast of characters, which happens in a lot of the books, but in this one they're at least a more complex and diverse crew of people, because we're not dealing with just people who are in the Navy or like just people who are going to a boarding school, but like a whole bunch of people who all end up on her keelboat traveling down the Ohio and Mississippi. So she's making her way to New Orleans. Jamie is following. I've actually just passed the part where she briefly runs into Jamie. He sees her in a compromising position and is like, oh no. And she's like, oh no. And you're like, wow, here we go again. So much of this book series is Jackie and Jamie getting within a hair's breadth of being in the same place at the same time, to the point where in later books, I started to get really annoyed with it. At this point, I'm not annoyed yet. But later I was like, just get married. I don't even care. Just do it, and then we can move on. But at this point, I'm like, fine, whatever. She had no idea up until that point that he had left the HMS Juno and come after her. Like, she had no way of knowing. We've known the whole book, but... so yeah, a lot of stuff has happened. A lot of traveling. She's met a lot of people. I like that this book has Native American characters, and it has a couple of black characters, one of whom is an escaped slave, which is something that's going to matter towards the end, I think, because I'm pretty sure they get into some serious trouble with some slave catchers. Like, they've run into these guys already, but they're going to show up again, I'm pretty sure. Also, there's some British Army officers who are, like, trying to get Tecumseh to agree to... My tea. It's ready. Hang on. There's a bunch of British Army soldiers that they run into who were there to get, with some British intelligence officers who are trying to pay the Five Nations Alliance, basically, to scalp settlers. And they agreed to do it, but then Jackie stole their money, so, like, I don't know. She was briefly taken by them, captive, and had to get out of that situation, had to be rescued. And Tecumseh, we met Tecumseh. Like, she didn't really meet him, but he was there, so she saw him from a distance, so that was kind of cool. And yeah, like, I don't know what else. I don't want to get into every detail, but yeah, I would say my favorite thing about this book is the cast of characters and how there's just so many different people, and they have a lot of time spent traveling down the rivers, and they just stop in a lot of towns and like they put on performances to make money. But also there's a lot of like little detours in the plot where something actually dramatic will happen, so it's fun. They were briefly in Cairo, so that's like basically, like her being in a established city in Illinois that I have heard of is the closest that she's gonna get to where I live, so that's fun. I mean, I know something unexpected happens in the last 2 books, but I'm pretty sure she's not gonna go, well, she's definitely not gonna go to Chicago because it doesn't exist yet, so. Yeah, so bad drama with Jamie, and the only thing that hasn't happened yet that I remember specifically is she gets tarred and feathered at some point. We haven't done that yet, so I'm looking forward to it because that's a fun time. And I feel that, yes, I think I have sufficiently updated you, so I might actually finish this book today. If not, I'll finish it tomorrow, finally. Oh my god. And then I can move on to the next one and hopefully finish this video by mid-February. I give myself a lot of time because I'll be like, oh, I could edit it now, and then I just don't for weeks. So, you know, great. Yeah, so we'll see what happens. Okay. Bloody Jack number 5 finished. Complete. Yeah, so I finished it last night. It is February 2nd. So, I like this book. I've already told you this. I don't know, I just wanted to kind of say something now that I finished it before I start the next one. I like this book more than I liked the 4th book, which was In the Belly of the Bloodhound. Basically, I think my favorite thing about this book is the fact that there's just such a large group of people that she meets. And they're all quite different from different places, and I wish we could have spent more time with Solomon, the escaped slave, because he didn't have, I mean, he was certainly not the least developed of the characters by a long shot, but he just wasn't on the ship as long, so we just didn't get to know him as well. I mean, however, it's possible we'll meet him again, because the book ends with them, you know, with her telling us like where everybody went after they got to New Orleans. Some of them stayed in New Orleans and she sold them the ship, but other ones she is taking back to Boston because she's bought herself a ship, mainly because she can't buy passage for Solomon and Chloe, because they're both black and they're like, we're not gonna sell them birds on a ship, and she's like, ugh. So she's like, fine, I'll buy a ship and we'll just go to Boston ourselves. So the 2 of them are gonna be in Boston, and then anyway, that's my point, is Jackie will probably see them again in the future, in future books, when she is in Boston again. However, her current destination is to go to London, which I think is a very bad idea, Jackie. You know the English are after you. She's just like, I'll just hide in Cheapside, it's fine. And I'm like, sure. Like, how long is that gonna last? But she was able to meet up with JB, fortunately, and he was able to get himself another posting on a naval ship. And he, you know, did this like right before she was able to find him again. So he's like, well, I'm gonna be gone for like a year going to China on this ship, but then I'm gonna come back to England. And she's like, yes, and then we can be together. And I'm like, I bet that's not gonna work out. But those are future frustrations for future me. I love this book. Yeah, definitely more than book 4. And considering it is not set on the ocean, I'd say it ranks pretty highly considering that. Okay, so where's my books? It's time for my Bonny Light Horseman, about which I remember not a lot. I have read it though multiple times. It's like 400 pages. Like, I don't understand why it's 200 pages shorter than Mississippi Jack, but hey. So I was reading the description the other day to remind myself, And it's like, okay, British intelligence, I do remember that they catch up to her and they're like, be a spy for us or we'll hang you. And she's like, well, great. So, however, what I forgot is that she was placed as a dancer in a Parisian nightclub. So that makes a lot more sense because I was remembering her as traveling with the troops, which she does do later, I think, in the book. But I was like, why is that where they would put her? So it's not. So there's just going to be some nonsense that'll get her there. But okay, so that makes more sense. I know this is the one where she meets Napoleon briefly because, of course, like, I feel like, I love that L.A. Meyer is just like, you know what? She's going to meet all of these people who matter. I don't care. Like I forgot to mention in Mississippi Jack, like, she met Tecumseh, or saw him. I mentioned that. What I didn't mention is she met Sacagawea, although they didn't use her name. Because it's not really her name, I think, anyway. But she did meet her. She was the niece of the woman that Jackie hired as cook on her ship, Crow Jane, who is not Crow, and this was explained. Also, I was like, Crow Jane has had a life, and I want to know, because, like, what is she doing in, like, Pennsylvania or wherever they picked her up, when she says she's from the Snake River, which is in Idaho. So, like, what is happening? But anyway, whatever the point. Maybe there's another Snake River. Anyway, the point is that they met her too, briefly. So, and it's definitely her because she had a baby, and she's also like told them about how she went on this expedition with Lewis and Clark. And Jackie's like, that sounds so fucking cool. But anyway, so anyway, I love that book, whatever. So we're gonna get to this one soon. It shouldn't take long to read, but like, we gotta start it first. But I don't want to start it quite yet, so anyway, you'll see when I start it in the next clip. Hello, and I am back, finally. It is the 18th of February, and I have started reading My Bonny Light Horseman yesterday, actually. I started reading it, and I'm about 200 pages in. And I thought I would update. I'm really enjoying it. Of course, I don't know, that's not really shocking. Like, the shocking thing will be if I get to one of these books and I'm like, actually, I hate this and it's garbage. But that hasn't happened yet. But, yeah, so I remembered, you know, vaguely what the book was about, but I'm like halfway through it, and she's just about to begin her career as a spy. So, you know, a lot of other stuff happens first that I kind of didn't remember. Like, she gets captured on the HMS Dauntless, and they're taking her, and they are taking her to England, and then they get attacked by a bunch of French ships, and the Dauntless gets destroyed, and then they end up in prison for a while. And then she is rescued, essentially, by the British Intelligence Service, but they pretend to guillotine her so that everybody will think she's dead, but then, like, they don't, obviously, and then they're just like, you can be a spy for us because you have a lot of skills and are a firebrand, or the guy calls her a pistol, it's great, and also we have, like, basically no female spies, nobody is going to expect it, so they want her to work as a dancer at this Parisian club, and like, she is gonna dance, like, literally too, but you know, and she's like, great, but she gets them to agree to let a couple of people go from the prison that she cares about, and like let her see Jamie one last time, because like, by this wild coincidence, Jamie's ship was also attacked, and after they've been in prison for a while, the Dauntless, some people from the Mercury, which was Jamie's ship, end up in there, and then, you know, Jamie's been horribly injured, and he's got, like, a bad concussion, and anyway, well, she tells them, okay, I'll do your stuff, but get these certain people out, and of course she includes Jamie, so then they agree to let her see Jamie one last time when he returns to London, and, like, before she goes off on her thing to be a spy. So I feel like we're just about to get to the exciting part, but there were a few characters who she recognized on the Dauntless, and so it was kind of fun, and I really like the captain and the doctor from the Dauntless, because they're just both really just, like, likable characters, and I I don't know, actually the Doctor reminded me a lot of the Doctor from Master and Commander, although to be fair, I've never actually read that book. I watched the movie, but when I tried to read the book, I couldn't get into it. But this was also, like, ages ago. Like, I actually think I want to try it again, because it seems to me like Master and Commander is probably going to be my jam. So I really should, why haven't I read it? Like, I love boats. The books about people on boats, and it's set in exactly the same time as this, and like it'll be great. But that's not really relevant. What is relevant is that I'm really liking this book. Okay, so then, you know, this woman comes and teaches her how to dance ballet, and she's not like great at it, but she's good enough for this kind of, you know, this club, and to sort of dance in the back. So, you know, good enough, and so she's gonna head off to Paris, and I'm pretty stoked. This book is demoted slightly because Higgins has only been in one chapter yet, and it was the first chapter, so I miss him. But I'm trying to recall, and I don't remember, but there's like one book where she meets Lord Byron, and anyway, and I think it's this one, mainly because I'm not sure which other one it could be, because I don't know much about Byron, but I know that he spent some time in Greece, and just kind of like in that Mediterranean area in general. And so I wonder, and just like, you know, like in Europe. And the other books, it's like, well, she's in Australia, she's in East Asia. So this seems like the only one that can be in, but I don't actually know if it's going to happen. I don't know, Lord Byron seems to me like he would go to this kind of Parisian nightclub, but also, what do I know? To be fair, when I read that book, whichever book it was he showed up in very briefly, I was like, who is this? Are we supposed to know who this is? Because they call him George Gordon, which is like his name, but nobody ever calls him that, you know. Anyway, I don't understand anything. But I will probably just update once more when I finish the book in a few days. I'm trying to get through it quickly because it's not very long, like I've said before. This boy is only like 400 pages, which is pretty short for these books, so I should get through it pretty quickly. Well, hello. I finished it. Ta-da, done. It's the 22nd of February, so didn't finish it all quite as quickly as I hoped it would, but that's okay. It really doesn't matter. It's not a race. This book. Okay, so it's kind of disjointed, I think, because like there's this whole chunk at the beginning where she's on the Dauntless, and then she's in the prison, and then she's training in London to be a spy / ballerina or dancer, and then she's in Paris doing that, and then she goes and convinces her handlers, like, hey, if I'm not going to be useful anymore since the army is moving out here in Paris, then let me go along with the army. I can dress up like a soldier, I can, you know, just be a boy and act as a messenger. And they're like, well, okay, that's not a bad plan. And so then she does that for a fair chunk of the last part of the book. So, I don't know, it's just, there's a lot of different bits, and they all have different, well, like half of them have different casts of characters. You don't really get to know most of the characters that well. I mean, I liked some of the soldiers. The title, kind of oddly, well, okay, first of all, I think it's like from a song, but the character that she calls my Bonny Light Horseman was like Captain Bardot, who died. Spoilers, do you care? You don't care. Who dies, and like in the battle at Jenna, or Jenna, or can I call it Jenna? And Jena? Actually, it's probably Jena because they're in Prussia. Where is Prussia? I don't know. I mean, it's Germany, but also some other stuff. It's probably Jena. Anyway, whatever. The point is that as much as he's a nice character, I like Bardot, but like, I don't know, it just, I kept assuming as the book was going on, I was like, I don't remember what happened, but I would assume the title refers to Valdon, or maybe even Randall, but like, no, it's Bardot. What? Okay. I guess just because he's fun. Yeah, so Randall is in this. Randall Trevelyan, Amy's brother, who apparently wanted so badly to fight in a war that after he got kicked out of Harvard for being the worst for drinking, I think he said he was drunk at chapel for the second time or something. I'm like, that's hilarious. Good job, Randall. But he decided to just, like, fuck off and go to France and join Napoleon's army. And, like, the Americans, I guess, are neutral in this conflict, apparently. That's what they said. And a lot of Americans like France more than they like England, which, like, makes sense. But this book... Yeah, so all in all, I would say, look, I like this book, but I don't think it fits together quite as well as some of the previous ones. But it has some, like, really good sections. I don't know. I don't care too much for Veldon. Like, I don't have anything against him. I just don't find him interesting. And then he's just like, I'm in love with you, Jackie. And she's like, great. No, she's like, I love you too, Jean-Paul. But also, you know, this, like, will not last. And I don't know. It's just a lot of running around in France. And, like, okay, this is just an aside, but I thought it was kind of funny how the characters are, for large sections of this book, all speaking French, but obviously the book is in English. But they do that thing where they'll have certain words or phrases in French, which I think is just kind of confusing, because it's like, but everything they're saying is in French, so you should be translating all into English. I don't know. Like, I took French for years, so I know what they're saying. I don't think it matters, but, like, it's just one of those funny things that happens in books and that you think, like, that doesn't really make any sense. But anyway, now we will move on to books 7 and 8. And let me tell you, memories are getting very thin on the ground here. It's like, I think the next one is Rapture in the Deep, which I remember very little about. Like, I think the Crown gets her to go to the Caribbean to try and find some Spanish gold, but I don't remember another goddamn thing about it. And then 8 must be the book where she goes to Australia. Like, they finally are like, fine, we're sending you to Botany Bay, enjoy. And she's like, ugh. And I don't remember a single blessed thing about that book. Like, nothing. It's like, I guess they get to Australia? I don't know. Okay, so anyway. I think we're done. I think we're good. I think we can wrap it up here. So I guess in summary, I liked Mississippi Jack more than I liked this. I just, you know, thought it was better. But, like, it's a good book. Plus, oh, I should mention this, I think. Napoleon is in this a bunch. Like, I kind of forgot that he was... Well, I didn't forget that she meets him, but I forgot that she met him multiple times. And she's like, he seems okay. She's like, I know it's down to him that a lot of English people have died in these battles, but also, like, I don't have any particular loyalty to King George. He's never done anything for me. So, you know, whatever. It's great. It ends with her reuniting with everybody on her ship, because they come to pick her up on the shores of France. And hopefully she can have at least a little bit of a nice time in the next book. I don't know, just like 5 minutes. Also, the scene with Lord Byron is not in this book, so fuck me if I can remember which one it's in. I definitely don't. Maybe it's the next one. Anything could happen in Rapture at the Deep, honestly, because I don't remember it at all. So I guess we'll find out in the future. Au revoir.